welcomes you to the final practice here at the Michigan International Speedway for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series teams for tomorrow's 400-mile event on this 2-mile super speedway. 77 degrees, muggy afternoon here in the Irish Hills area, not too far from the Motor City. Glad you're with us, everybody. Steve Burns, Larry McReynolds has a nice new shirt.
Wrong color.
After reinventing pit reporting yesterday.
It looks good in between it, so yeah.
And DW back with us. Now, Larry, you've made the point that this is a fast race. 400 miles goes by quick here.
And one reason it goes by quick, aside from being 400 miles, you don't get many cautions. In fact, we have had 3 races here that's been caution-free. Every week, these guys in final practice, they work as hard as they can to get their car driving just as good as they can. But they go into this race tomorrow in this final practice knowing I may not get a lot of opportunities tomorrow to adjust on this car, so I really have to make sure I've got it as good as I can at the drop of the green flag.
So, Darrell, what does that make the premium item in this practice?
You know, Burns, I was listening to the scanners this morning. I listened to all the drivers talking to the crew chiefs. Communication. I don't know how some of these crew chiefs figure out what the driver wants.
I mean, they are for years.
They are all over the place. Some of them are. Now, there are others that are very methodical. And they break everything down from, you know, how the seat feels and where the mirror is. I mean, they're real methodical and they go through a real checklist. But there are several guys that run up front that if I was the crew chief, I'd be scratching my hair or pulling it out.
That's what happened.
Trying to figure out what this dude is trying to tell me.
You got to have that communication.
You got to communicate.
Where's your hat, Larry Mack?
I gave it back to the guy who took it off his head.
Let's take a look at our Kills track description. We said it's 2 miles around, but not a lot of banking here, guys.
No, it's not. It's only about 18 degrees in the corner. The front stretch is actually banked a lot, and for some reason, with that banking on the front stretch and the way it has that turn in it, paper flies around. You always end up with paper on the grill, it seems like, in the race.
Yeah, and of course, you'll see these guys that when they're trying to really break the draft on someone or get to the line first. A lot of times they'll come off turn 4. They will dive that thing right down to the apron and take the shortest route.
Cars heading out onto the racetrack, and we head to Matt Yoakum.
Steve, what a roll over the past month and a half for Kurt Busch in the 2 team. A little hiccup last week at Pocono, but back on track this week. Set fast time in qualifying, and they looked very strong in the first practice. The biggest issue for Kurt, trying to get the car to turn down in, working on that field. They fixed that. Then he had a late loose condition. They made a couple of changes before this final practice to see if they can work that out of the race car. But right now, they are just fine-tuning that blue deuce. The temperature tomorrow should mirror today, so they feel pretty confident about their Sunday run here in the Irish Hills. To Jeff Hammond.
Well, Matt, for the Ford camps, it hasn't been a lot to talk about this year. They have no wins, but they come basically to the Roush Fenway or Jack Roush in Ford's backyard here at Michigan and looking to turn things around. Qualifying, not that impressive. Casey Kane was the fastest of them, but after this first practice this morning, the 98 and the 99 are at the top of the chart right now. Talk to Jack Roush, he's encouraged. Doug Yates, he's walking around with smiles all about this FR9 engine. They got him tuned up for the weekend, but more importantly, the simulation that a lot of these teams use to get their race set up ready to go this weekend, well, it's working. Carl Edwards, he likes his race car. He plans to get this practice done, take off down to Kentucky, but right now, I just want to let you know, guys, up in the booth, Matt Yoakum and I, well, we got you under our wing, boys. We're going to be keeping up with everything happening down here in this final hour of practice.
He got on the wrong shirt.
Just for the record.
Just for the record. That is not.
I get it.
Oh, yeah, I saw it under our.
See, you wasn't on camera, Jeff Hammond. We didn't understand what you said there.
Yeah.
We didn't know the meaning of it.
That's okay. Right here, we got you under our wing. Don't worry about it. Matt and I've got you covered down here. Right shirt or wrong shirt, as long as it says speed, we got it covered.
It's not Matt we're worried about.
You know how it is. You put me down here today, you're going to have to take what you get.
Well, to Jeff's point, Carl Edwards qualified 19th and was second quick to Paul Menard in that first practice.
Honestly, none of the Fords burnt the house down in qualifying.
No.
Casey Kane was the only Ford that was in the top 10. Elliott Sadler, our good buddy that helps us out on trackside every once in a while, was 11th. But they all looked pretty good in that practice. In fact, 4 in the top 10 of that first practice earlier.
I think a guy that's probably smiling pretty big today, too, is Chad Knaus, because the 48 car gets a good qualifying run in yesterday. Right now, as we look at the chart, at the speed chart, he's at the top of it. This is a team that they just need to they need to win this race. They almost won it twice last year. and they need to be working on their fuel cell and not on their setup.
Yeah, 279 laps he led last year and had nothing to show for it.
Ran out of gas both races. In fact, this race a year ago that his teammate Mark Martin in the 5 won came up about a lap and a half short, and then Biffle ran out on the backstretch. Marker's running third at that point when Jimmy ran out, wins the race.
Yeah, somebody said Mark led a lap. I said, no, he didn't.
No,
he led a quarter of a lap.
Yep. First practice, Jimmy Johnson was 4th overall, made 24 laps.
You know, the thing about the 48 car, we watched it yesterday in practice. There was kind of a mixed bag of agendas yesterday. There were guys like the 48 car that jumped out there and race practice when that hour-and-a-half practice started. There were some that worked on qualifying. He was at the top of the practice chart for a long time in race trim, so we felt like if they can make it all tie together that this could be a good weekend. Finished 5th at Pocono. Here's what's hard to believe, Steve. That was his first top 5 finish. Finishing 2nd at Texas.
Daryl, another thing that's hard to believe is this track, Michigan International, is one of 5 venues, 5 tracks that Jimmy hasn't won on. Does that surprise you?
Well, it really does, because this is in his wheelhouse. You know, you think about California, they're very similar, and of course you know how well he runs there, but there's 2 tracks he hadn't won on that really doesn't surprise me all that much, and that's the 2 road courses. You know, he's not won at Sonoma or at Watkins Glen, and Homestead is the other one. He probably is never going to win a Homestead unless he has to.
That's right.
You know, I'm really nervous about something the more I've thought about
What's
it.
that?
I'm not comfortable being under Hammond's wing.
Good point. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup Final Practice for Michigan is brought to you by Kills Primers. Kills, the perfect start to a great finish. Jimmy Johnson has posted the fastest lap early in his practice. Meanwhile, Jeff Burton will start 5th tomorrow. He had a good first practice as well. He was 3rd overall.
I'll tell you a guy that's, I know we're looking at Jeff Burton here, and he's running great, but another guy that's just impressing the heck out of me. First practice was the quickest, Paul Menard. Second practice, here he is, second quick. Yep. They got that old car running pretty good today.
On board with Jeff Burton, and let's go on board with Jeff Hammond.
Well, Steve, we're down here in the garage area and I'm watching the 33 car, Clint Boyer. It's still up on scales, and guys, you know in the final practice, you want to get out there and get some of the track time because we know weather's coming. You want to get your car dialed in, but I know after the first practice, I watched this team go straight to the transporter. They came out late, and they've been making wholesale changes to this 33. He's not been happy with it. He qualified 25th for the start tomorrow, and they continue to work on it to try to get it fine-tuned before Clint Boyer goes on the racetrack, but he's burning up a lot of valuable time.
Yeah, Jeff, we were just looking at the weather up here, and there's a lot of weather to our west right now, but I don't think it's going to get in here until late this afternoon, probably around 4 o'clock.
Which is good for the truck race.
Should be good for the truck race. Everything looks good to me.
And it's actually to the west of the Great Lakes, and the lakes can actually change that weather. It can either break it up a little bit or it can intensify it. But the thing about this 33 car, Jeff's right. He only ran 15 laps in that first practice, and he was 27th quickest. It's one of the downsides of this practice schedule with only having 30 minutes in between sessions. If you're struggling and you need to make wholesale changes, you almost can't do it in that time period that's down.
We've seen these guys, you know, change rear end housings and everything else in a very short period of time, trying to get the car to handle a little bit better.
Matt Yoakum, what's going on with our points leader?
Well, Steve, in the first practice, Kevin Harvick in the 29 was impressive. The second practice, he started out with a slightly different package. He went out and ran 2 laps. Although he posted a decent number, 5th on the board, he instantly keyed the mic and told Gil Martin that the car just will not turn in the corner. So Gil made a change with the front sway bar. He's back out on the racetrack, and see if that change will get Harvick the feel he's looking for.
You know, Matt, I go back to what Kevin Harvick said after Dover. He is running well on tracks where he typically has not scored well in the past. Dover, Pocono, Charlotte.
You think about Pocono, and I think Matt maybe touched on this a little bit earlier. He had 18 starts there. He had never led a single lap at Pocono. Of course, he led laps last week and ended up with a top 5 finish. But I think the point about the 29 car, and Kevin said this yesterday in the media center, even though they're leading the points, they've got to win some races. They've got to get those bonus points, because right now he only has 10 bonus points for that win at Talladega. You look over there to Denny Hamlin. he has 40 bonus points for his 4 wins, like Jimmy Johnson and has 30 bonus points.
You take teams like Harvick's team. You got a great driver, got a lot of talent. You got a great pit crew. What a guy does, if he doesn't have the fastest car, he capitalizes on everything else, making great pit decisions, making great pit stops, getting track position when it counts. That's why when the day is over with, maybe he didn't have the fastest car, but he did find himself in the top 10. We've seen him do it time and time again this year, using all the elements.
Jeff, what's going on with Jamie McMurray?
Well, Steve, you look underneath here right now, you can see they're changing their rear sway bar as well as the spring combination. We're hearing a lot of teams talk about cutting through the center. Their car's not working the way Jamie wants it, so they're going to make a balance change here by adjusting the rear sway bar with the spring combination. On up the road just a little ways, the 14 car Tony Stewart, he pulls in. He said, hey, guys, mine's cutting through the center good, almost too good. Not loose, but just turning through the center. He's about the only car so far that seems to be happy, at least through the cut through the center.
Let me tell you what teams are doing. When they put this rear spoiler on the car, it added a lot of aero drag. Drag can be a big issue at Michigan. So what teams are working with is like what Jeff's talking about, rear spring and rear sway bar. You maybe can soften the rear spring that gets that blade out of the air on the straightaways, but then you've got that rear sway bar, anti-roll bar, that will actually increase the rate of the rear springs in the corner, which is where you want it.
It's what we used to do when there was, for a while they made the rear sway bar illegal, but they've since approved it, and that's a great advantage. You can take a couple hundred pounds out of those rear springs, put a great big rear bar in it, fast down the straightaway, good through the turns.
Jamie McMurray, 110 points out of 12. Jimmy Johnson, the quickest. A little bit later today, the toughest trucks are here in Michigan. Now, whether you're for Chevy, Ford, or Toyota, only one can claim victory. Don't miss the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live from Michigan today at 1:30 Eastern, only on Speed. Young Austin Dillon on the pole for the 2nd consecutive week. Richard Childress' grandson.
And we probably need to update the story on this 18 car of Kyle Busch. Of course, comes in here 2nd in the points. Now, he was 10th quickest in that first practice earlier this morning. He went out yesterday during qualifying and qualified 15th, but at the very beginning of that hour-and-a-half practice session yesterday, he almost knew immediately when he went out that something was not right with the engine. Dave Rogers, that group, decided to change the engine, so he will have to start this 400-mile race tomorrow at the rear of the field because of the engine change.
Makes for really good television.
I guarantee you it will. You just put a camera on him and follow him up through there.
Right.
So let me ask you guys this question. 52 of 81 races have been won from the top 5. You can win from the back of the pack, but how do they do that tomorrow starting 43rd?
You know, Larry knows this, and Jeff too. You'll just do something early in the pits, 2 tires, get yourself up near the front, and try to get up there with the guys you got to beat. So early on, they'll have a different strategy. Heck, when you're that far back, you might come down pit road on early caution when everybody stays out, get some tires and fuel. Then the next time it goes around, you can stay out and you got your track position. So you just play the track position game, and it mostly in the pits.
But Larry, doesn't that make you have a little more anxiety? Because you said at the top of the show, we don't have many cautions here.
Larry and anxiety? No,
those two words don't even go together. But honestly, yeah, it is a little bit of apprehension going into this race tomorrow. And until you can work your way maybe up into the top dozen or 15 and know that you're on somewhat even agenda as far as tires and fuel, it is a little bit of a lot of anticipation. But I think when we look at so many numbers from previous races at a racetrack, yeah, this is the 82nd race. So we've had 81 races here. But we've only had 2 with so many of the rules that exist today. For example, double file restarts, the wave around. So, you know, a lot of those numbers come from races where the rules were a lot different from what we've got now.
Mark Martin won this race from 32nd starting position. And the reason he was able to do it was because he was able to come down pit road at one point late in the race and get a little fuel when the other boys stayed out.
Watching Tony Stewart, and Darrell, I asked Clinton Boyer that on NASCAR Race Hub. Paul Menard having a great practice again. He said it has absolutely been a game changer how the drivers and the crew chiefs approach the end of the race now.
Oh, I know. I mean, that would drive me crazy for a number of reasons. Fuel is the biggest one, but setup. I mean, if you got a car, you say, okay, this is a track that we don't get a lot of cautions. Then I'm going to say, well, I need a car that's good on the long run then. I need to sit out there and be able to grind out some good steady laps. But what am I going to do when it gets down the end of the race, 20, 25 laps to go, and I end up in 2 or 3 little short runs? I'm in trouble. So that's the nightmare that you have to deal with here, is setting the car up for those green-white checkers.
You know, honestly, when I look at this 98 car, I can't say I'm totally surprised at the way he's running, because even though, like a few races in there, he had some issues, think about it. 8th at Charlotte, 16th at Pocono.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Tomorrow, NASCAR race day rages into Michigan as Darrell Waltrip makes his race day debut. Speaking of raging, to break down the fallout for Pocono. Plus, we'll take an inside look at the struggles of Roush Fenway Racing. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot, live from Michigan tomorrow at 10 Eastern, only on Speed. So, DW, who's going to wake you up in time?
Well, I'll be there. Don't worry. But how about me and Kenny Wallace? You think we'll be able to work together? I don't know.
The one I'm feeling for is John Roberts.
Oh, he'll be all right. We'll send him off. We'll send him for a long wait.
10 Eastern here on Speed tomorrow. See, Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now is 23rd overall. His last win here 2 years ago. We go to the garage and Matt Yoakum.
Well, you know, Steve, usually Michigan, it's Father's Day weekend, and so we're going to start our Father's Day theme a little bit early. You know, when you talk about the Boyer family, the Boyer boys will tell you their dad kind of passed on his passion for whether it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels, whether it's motos or cars, onto their boys. And you know what? They wanted to thank their dad. And you know what, Larry, being a father, you know, you never want to let pictures kind of stay around in photo albums, because they printed up a T-shirt of their dad at one of the first ever NASCAR races they went to, Talladega, 1986. We're having fun now. You got to love the Trucker Quaker State hat, the little boom box, and of course the beverage with the different coolie on it. But you know what, Larry, I'm not sure whether this is a joke or whether they're thanking their dad, but you know what, they have a lot of fun with their dad, Pops Boyer, and like you mentioned before, he's up on top of the spotter stand during practices, spotting for Clint, and I'm sure his cell phone is probably going off right about now with text messages about the lovely picture, vintage 86 NASCAR style.
I think he's already won 1 race this week. I think he spotted for Jimmy Johnson Wednesday night.
I believe you're right.
Over
yeah.
at Eldora there. So he's on a roll.
But you know, of course, Mike Dillon, the dad of Austin Dillon, spots for Clint on race day. But what Clint has told us is one thing he likes about his dad spotting practice is after it's all over with and they go to the motor coach, he'll sit down and talk to his dad extensively about what he saw with his car, what he saw with competitors, and Clint said that actually helps him quite a bit.
Yeah, you couldn't take 3 days of Dillon.
No.
No way.
Plus, you know, Casey Mears said that on trackside last night, which I thought was interesting, that being out of the race car gave him the opportunity to watch how different drivers, same thing, Larry, how different drivers get off the corners, how they work in the pits, a lot of different things.
See, it's what I call the blind obvious, Steve. Sometimes when we're just surrounded and we're right in the middle of something, you don't see all that's going on outside. It's like when I first started coming up here and I was talking to Michael about things, I said, man, here's what I see from up here, which was totally different than what he saw down there, because he's in it and I'm up here observing it. So sometimes the old blind obvious will get you.
David Reagan to the garage area in his 6th car. He is 7th overall. Joey Logano 14th overall. Joey yesterday told the media, I'm not taking back anything I said last week after the race.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it back either.
You know, one thing about what Joey is trying to do here this weekend, as soon as qualifying was over yesterday, he traveled down to Kentucky Motor Speedway, practiced his Nationwide Series car down there, got back here about 10:30, 11 o'clock last night. He's going back there for qualifying later on this afternoon in the race tonight. He's raced there twice. He sat on both poles and he won both races, trying to make it 3 for 3 in both categories later on this afternoon and tonight. I didn't use the word catapulted to Kentucky.
I told you, I wanted so bad when you asked me about how Kyle Busch was going to get to the front, but he's going to catapult to the front. But I didn't want to throw Larry on the bus.
Larry, have you retired from pit reporting officially?
For the weekend of Michigan, I have. I went to my motor coach, sat in there last night and said, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, you're like me. I spent 30 years of my life, and this is what I end up with.
You know, we're watching Casey Kane right now in the 9 car, and right now Casey's 13th quickest. As we know, Michigan International Speedway is right in the backyard of a lot of the manufacturers like Dodge, like Chevrolet, and like Ford. And I'm telling you, a really cool competition on Tuesday as we look at the best 10 lap averages, which is important with these teams right now, is Ford along with AAA up at their World Ford headquarters in Dearborn, Michigan. They've got the Ford AAA Auto Skill Competition. What it is, it's a two-person team of juniors and seniors from high school from all 50 states, and they're going into a national final competition on Tuesday where they do a written test and a hands-on competition. And Ford and AAA together, they have put over $11 million of scholarships available for this entire competition. And over 10,000 students, Steve, signed up for this when it started this year. This is actually their 61st year of the competition, and it's going to come down to Tuesday, one two-person team that's going to walk away national champions from this competition.
Wow. Good story. Jimmy Johnson still leading the way, and there it is, Chris Boyer. We're having fun now. Happy Father's Day to him.
I was working on that Quaker State team.
You were. Martin Truex Jr., 18th overall, 20 laps of practice in this session. And we go back to Matt Yoakum.
Steve, a debrief has already been completed with Todd Berrier. Jeff Burton's getting ready to get back in the race car. So where are you at this point during practice? Are you closing in on the field you're looking for, Jeff?
Yeah, we're pretty close. We got good there at the end of the first practice, and we made a few changes in between, and we thought we got a little better on the long run. We took some speed away from it taking off, but it's drivable. It's just not quite as fast taking off, but on the long run, it was a lot better. And you know, the deal here is today the line that's really fast may not be the line that's really fast tomorrow. So, you know, I'm looking around a little bit, trying to make sure the car drives well everywhere. And that run right there, I was faster in some grooves than others, but it drove like I wanted it to everywhere. So that's a good sign.
All right, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Darrell, I'm curious, why did Jeff Burton say that? The line he's running today may not be fast tomorrow.
Well, when the track rubbers up. One thing I read about this new tire that they've been developing and using a lot here lately, it puts more rubber on the racetrack. I just think back to Dover, and I even think back to Charlotte, that the tires as they wore, and the more the guys ran, the more they practiced, the darker and darker the track kept getting. And that's rubber buildup. And once that happens, sometimes it creates those knots, those little bumps in the racetrack, and you've got to move around to find a better groove. And I think that's what he's talking about. Good today may not be so good tomorrow. Well, look at Ryan Newman up in there.
He's digging.
Look at that focus. So look at those eyes. Head over against the headrest there. A lot of G-forces, and I mean, he is working. He's really putting a lot of effort in this. He's relaxing here down the front straightaway just a little bit. But watch when he gets down here to the corner. Watch that head flop over to the right over against the headrest. And look at the eyes. Never blinks. He's just really just concentrating, focusing, getting at the whoa, and he didn't like that, I guarantee you.
But Darrell, I think, let's watch it down in 3 and 4. It actually throws him to the right, and watch how it sinks him down in the seat when he goes into that 18 degrees of banking.
Yeah.
You can see down in the middle of 3 and 4, still over 150 miles an hour off the throttle in the middle of the corner.
The people at home that say, you know, oh, race drivers aren't athletes. Let me tell you, every muscle in that man's body is tight and tense right now. From his arms, his legs, his neck, his hands, everything about him is as tense as you can get right now. And he'll have to be like that for about 3.5, 4 hours Sunday.
Not to mention the mental part of it.
Oh, the focus.
41-12. Right now, he has run about more laps than anyone, about 21 laps, second to Martin Truex Jr. And I think Jeff is with someone that's been helping a driver out in this practice session.
Yes, I am, Larry. You just saw the 13 roll out with Max Pappas behind the wheel. But Dave Blaney, you just climbed out of that 13 car. What have you and Max been working on today, and what did you help him with?
Well, you know, Max just has such limited time at all these racetracks, and he just wanted a different perspective on what the car maybe should feel like or what he's feeling, and just confirming it. So, you know, he's a nice guy, and I commend him for wanting other opinions and trying to help.
Well, you was telling me just a moment ago that he was trying to almost back the corner up too far and then used to get back in the throttle a little bit too quick, and the car would not hold the grip on the late exit like that.
Well, yeah, we talked about it in his way of driving, and it seemed way different than what maybe mine was or a lot of these guys. So, and he could see it on the track too, and so you just, you know, talk about it, and he's going to try a different way. And we freed the car up a whole bunch. It was real tight, you know, to kind of handle the way he was driving it. So we'll just see what he can learn here.
See, what they're talking about, and this is where telemetry, if you could go and test, and we have what we call throttle traces, where you can lay your throttle over the top of someone else. Say Jimmy Johnson, say he was comparing his trace to Jimmy Johnson. You can see where Jimmy gets off the gas, where he gets on the gas, how far into the corner he's going. And those are the things that these guys don't have the advantage of. It's not like an Indy car or a Formula One car. They got to do it. They got to do it on the job. They got to do it when they get here. It takes a little bit of time to learn, and Max is just going through that learning process.
You know, here's the 13 car right now, Max Pappas. But one thing I did notice about that 2 car, Darrell, and we've been seeing it for the last few years, especially with this new car. But he's got those bright gold yellow rims on that car. How black the front wheels are already turning, showing you how much brake Kurt Busch is using getting in the corner here.
Yeah, you know, Larry, a lot of people ask me about that and how can the brakes last. But if you look at the package they run on these cars now, and you know this, the pads, the brake pads are huge. They are so thick. There's probably, I don't know, what are they, a couple of inches thick on each, you know, 2 of them in the front. So you got a lot of pad to give. And I think probably they've got to wear or they wouldn't be working.
Kyle Petty said a set of brakes is about 40 grand nowadays.
And if you used to use them at Michigan, you'd hit the driver in the head with a 2x4.
We'll be right back to Michigan. Next Saturday, the Rolex Sports Car Series slams into Mid-Ohio, where the GT points battle is as close as it gets. Don't miss the Rolex Sports Car Series live from Mid-Ohio next Saturday, 5 Eastern, only on Speed. Matt Kenseth, 6th overall in this practice, 19 laps on the board.
Car looks like it's a little loose, pushy loose. See the thing kind of wiggling through the corner.
You know what I like about this tire here, though, Darrell? You were talking about it, putting more rubber down. And I think this is one thing that really promotes to good racing, is it looks like there's definitely some give up in the tire. You know, we're seeing guys run in the mid to mid-high 42nd bracket, and compared to qualifying, they were qualifying in the high 37s and low 38s. So when you have a give up like that, don't know if the fans know the difference in the speed, but it definitely promotes better side-by-side racing.
Yeah, the drivers like it a whole lot better, and we haven't heard a lot of complaints about tires this year. Goodyear is really, but they just completed a test, I think, at Atlanta again.
They're doing it this week.
They just keep going and testing, but they learn so much. You know, out of something bad always comes something good, and that fiasco they had at Indianapolis, when they went back there with about 25 teams and spent about 5 or 6 days up there 3 or 4 different times, they came up with these new compounds and these new designs, and it's worked everywhere.
How many tests did they actually do at Goodyear at Indy? 7?
No, I think it was actually about 11 tests total, Steve. Yeah, it was a bunch.
But it paid off.
It really did, and a lot of that technology has transferred to all the other racetracks. We're looking at Regan Smith right now in his 78 car, and this is interesting. He is 7th quickest, but if you go back to that practice yesterday, he was right there in the top 10 that entire practice.
Well, his new crew chief, you know, Pete Rondo, I mean, he's a sharp guy. He used to work at DEI. When they put him in charge of this car picked up.
Well, it did. Now, he qualified 23rd, but I think another thing that's starting to happen with this car, it's an interesting concept. It's an interesting mix. They already had an agreement with Hendrick Motorsports for the engine, so it has Hendrick engines, but they have a technical alliance and support from Richard Childress Racing. And Richard Childress Racing, they've been building their cars. Regan told me yesterday on pit road, this is a brand new race car they brought here. So you've got Childress cars with Hendrick engines. It's not a bad package.
Let's go on board with Carl Edwards and get around this 2-mile speedway, DW.
Heading down the front here. You see how big and sweeping this front straightaway is.
36.
Kind of swing out up next to the wall. A lot of grip out here next to the wall. You see that kind of light area up there. That's if you want to call it in, it's a cushion. Just don't want to get it quite up there. But you see him go down the back. A lot of brake. Get into turn 3 here. Got to get right out next to this wall. Now this corner, this is a big sweeper. You just come off this corner, you go forever through the corner here in the throttle. And so it's a long, long way down this front straightaway. 3,600 feet all the way down this front straightaway. You're going to see some big speeds. Look at that speed. 205.
Wow.
Still there.
Race trim.
But you know, Darrell, watching him run this high line as he's doing it both ends of the racetrack, read a lot of driver quotes this week that said, you know what? They think that they will take advantage of that because, as we've seen so many places, when you run that high line, you carry so much speed and momentum off the exit of the corner. Even if a car's working better than your car at the bottom, you carry the speed off the corner.
See him working in here. He went to the bottom that time, and that's what happens when you go to the bottom. The car gets pushed.
That's a lot better. Just the slightest bit snug in the center, rolling now.
When you get the car down on the bottom, like you saw him in 3 and 4, the car wants to pick up a big push. Well, when the car is pushing, you can still make good time by yourself. The problem is when you go down there to pass someone, that guy that's got all that momentum on the outside, you and him come together on corner exit, and the guy on the inside has to lift. He loses all that he made up in the middle of the corner.
Whatever they did to this 99 car, I think Carl likes a little better. You heard his crew chief, Bob Osborne, before he would get to turn 1, he would just call out the last 2 digits, you know, and what that was like a 40-36, a 40-70. Carl knew which second bracket it was in because of the previous runs.
So looking at the Roush Fenway cars, Matt Kenseth is 6th overall, David Reagan 7th, Carl Edwards 9th, and Greg Biffle 11th.
One thing I noticed as we look inside these race cars, you know, back in the day, we all had just one standard steering wheel. You bought a wheel from Hudson Pagan, Holman Moody, whomever, to a rubber-coated steering wheel. But now I notice like Jeff Gordon has a different steering wheel. I just noticed that Carl Edwards has got a little bit different looking steering wheel. These guys have all experimented around with size. We used to have one size. Now they got small ones and big ones. And Hammond, what have you found out down there?
Well, Darrell, listen to the conversation that you and Larry have been having and talking about the Roush cars and talking about this racetrack. What I'm hearing, again, it's the center. A lot of the guys, as they lose speed, with these tires dropping off, they're not able to cut through the center like they want to. Then all of a sudden, once they do get it to rotate, they're getting loose. And another thing is coming back out today that we thought they had cured after qualifying, especially with the Roush cars, is they're still hitting the splitter, 16 in particular. He says, when I cut it to the bottom, I bottom out, hit the splitter, runs me up the racetrack, and said, I'm wrecking off these corners. Same thing with the 17. They can't quite get it dialed in and get the balance right. And Larry, you know how important it is. Get that splitter where it just about touches, but you can't afford, especially on a racetrack like this, with this kind of speed, to be bottoming out. All it's going to do is make it impossible to drive.
Well, the ultimate goal with that splitter is have it just all but touching that racetrack. And of course, you go back to Pocono last week where that place is so bumpy, and this place is getting a little rough. That becomes a challenge. You don't want it up off the racetrack because air is going under it then, and it's not going to be as efficient, but you can't have it bottoming out either.
Yeah, when that thing hits, it basically lifts the front wheels off the ground. That thing is so strong. I think they ought to call it a skimmer, though.
Skimmer. Sam Hornish said that last night on trackside.
His did more than skim.
Skipped. Sprint brings you an inside look at what is happening now inside the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed. Jimmy Johnson heading down the pit lane, still the quickest, 24 laps in this practice. Let's go on board with Martin Truex Jr.
Just quickly, let me look at the difference in where his hands are compared to where Ryan Newman was. He got a lot of tug on that wheel, pulling it way around to the left.
You know what, Darrell, you were talking about the steering wheel, and next week during Infineon race weekend, my buddy Chad, Buddy Barker, Doug Richard, Chad Canals, myself on NASCAR Performance, we're going to talk about the inside of a race car. But if you look at that steering wheel right there, the evolution of the steering wheel has actually come a long, long way. We used to go to the salvage yard and just get one off of a car, unbolt it, and bolt it to the steering shaft. And then they came like the people with Schroeder that had a little more sophisticated steering wheel with the quick release that we would use. But then a lot of teams, and I noticed Jeff Gordon in the 24 car, he's been using this Momo steering wheel. And Darrell, I learned a lot about the Momo steering wheel taping that show. Not only does it have the radio button in it, not only does it have the shutoff button in it, it actually has a button that will shoot your Gatorade or water through your helmet into your mouth. All you have to do is hit that button and it'll shoot a hit of water or Gatorade in your mouth.
These drivers, I swear.
I'd be worried about it splashing.
Air, got cold air blowing in their helmet, Gatorade shot in their mouth. I bet they wipe sweat off of them on a pit stop.
Probably so.
Pat your head down,
Blot it.
You're hot.
Blot it.
Yeah.
Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, Steve, I'm caught up here with Carl Edwards. And Carl, you guys were second fastest in the first practice. How's this final practice going? I mean, what is the 99 working on?
It's pretty good. The track's changing a little bit. It's getting a lot slicker. It's going to be a lot more like the race on Sunday. So we're we're trying some different things now. But the good thing is we got 4 Fords in the top 10 right now. So we're a lot better than we have been. The balance is good. And as a driver, really, that chart and all that's fine, but that thing turns like I want it to in the corner. That's good, and the guys have been making it do that. So hopefully we'll get this Aflac Fusion fast for the race.
How about the confidence in an FR9 engine right now? I know I heard you tell somebody say I can't tell the difference behind the wheel, but as far as the confidence coming in here, Jack seemed like he was pretty pumped about it.
Yeah, I feel real good about that FR9 engine. Ford, everybody's been working hard on it. All the guys at Yates and everybody's been working real hard, and it's been reliable, and that's the key right now. That engine is kind of our rock and our foundation. We keep building these cars better and better, and we're going to be pretty good. So it's going to be a pretty fun day, though. I get to run the fast in all 4 tonight at Kentucky, so Paul and I leave right after this, and it's pretty cool. Both of us are up there in the top 10, so it'll be a good plane ride.
Hey, do me one favor. Tell Daryl and Larry that you got them under their wing.
Yeah. Aflac definitely has you guys under their wing.
I feel much better being under his wing versus Jeff Hammond's wing.
Yeah, because Hammond is like a wing nut, so I don't need to be under his wing.
When you think about Carl Edwards, he's sitting on a 50-race winless streak. It was back here in June of 2007. He broke a 52-race winless streak.
Looking for the latest stats and results from the track? Stay informed and make your best fantasy picks. Use Speed's comprehensive NASCAR stats for the latest practice and qualifying reports, race results, and driver standings. Get more at the NASCAR section of speed.com. Mark Martin in the 5 car is 15th overall, and we'll check back with Matt.
And Steve, the 24 car has run 24 laps during this final practice session, and Gordon's 4th on the board. And we've documented so much during this practice session from Larry, Mack, DW, and Hammond down here in the pits about just trying to find the right balance. And for Gordon, the car is tighter now down in 3 and 4, but the balance is much closer to how the car is for Jeff down in turns 1 and 2. They made a shock change. He said it's not where we need to be just yet, but we were definitely headed in the right direction. And I'll tell you something else. Looking ahead at tomorrow's race in a different area, Steve Letarte had Gordon come off turn 4 hard to simulate entering pit road in race conditions, because their stall, the very first one off turn 4 tomorrow.
Let me tell you something about Steve Letarte. He's a pretty good TV man. He was a pit reporter over at the Prelude on Wednesday night. I was impressed.
Did a nice job.
He did a really nice job.
Nice
I mean, he was very knowledgeable, and he went around and was conversational. He did a really good job. So, Hammond, go over and give him your headset.
Are you being serious? I mean, because I don't mind taking a little bit of a break. And in his case right now, since he's got all the work done on that 24, I don't mind swapping jobs with him, Daryl.
Hammond never minded taking a break, I can tell you.
The thing right now, Daryl, is talk about teammates. The 88 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he has struggled throughout this entire practice. They have not yet got anything figured out about it. I think that the word that I think Lance McGrew used one time is Daryl has got him confused. The car is doing multiple things. It can't take, as he used one time, the car cannot develop a pattern. The car's doing erratic things. It's loose getting in, then it pushes, and it gets loose coming off. So they've really been chasing this 88 car. Lance finally told him, said, look, let's work on one thing and one thing only. Let's work on getting the car to run low and see if we can get it through that part of the racetrack, and then we'll worry about trying to expand and get the car on balance better as we go to this last part of the practice. This 88, along with the 99, 16, 83, 14, a lot of guys are putting on new tires, making those final adjustments to try to figure out what it's going to take to be good tomorrow. Plus, it's starting to cool off, guys. This weather's coming in. Track temperature's got to be cooling down also.
You know that inconsistency, that turn in and it won't turn, and then when the front grips and the back snaps around, that'll drive a driver crazy, because you really can't get your arms around it. You're not real sure what you want. You're not sure what you need to fix a car. That was my point in the opening about communication. Some of these guys have got it figured out. They know exactly where to tell you to go and what to do. Others, they get confused. But what I always told Hammond and everybody was, if you can just make it do one thing, if you just make it push, at least we can work on, we can we'll work on that. Or if you can just make it loose, but when it does both, I don't know what to do.
You know, in Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s defense, I know we sometimes beat him up a little bit about his feedback, but if that car indeed is doing what he's talking about, like Darrell's inconsistent, obviously you can't give good feedback because it will not do the same thing twice.
I've had aero problems. I've had the front of the car go into the corner down the straightaway with the front of the car up in the air. Well, when it got to the corner, the front fell down. Well, when the front fell down, the car took off. Well, we were trying to fix the chassis when, in fact, we should have been working on the aero part of the car.
So Darrell had aero problems. One time he had chassis problems, and for a number of years he had Hammond problems.
What happened to Clint Boyer?
Well, I think all those major changes we saw them making earlier, I'm not sure that worked out very good.
I don't know why he wasn't practicing much now. That's ugly.
Skinned it up.
Well, and of course they look at they look at a lot of things after a car hits a wall like that to determine if they're allowed to get a backup car out, because as you know, with the claw and all the templates and the way they got to fit these cars, sometimes things get wounded and pushed out of shape, and they won't let them. They want them to get a backup car.
Jeff Hammond, looks like the backup's coming off the truck.
Yes, it is. It looks like that Clint Boyer and those guys, they will be making a switch here. The car got away from him. He pancaked the right side pretty hard enough to where they feel like it's not only bent the back end of the car, but also the front end. The backup is being unloaded. And when Clint Boyer passed me, guys, if that young man's eyes were telling me anything, he was throwing laser darts. I mean, he was about as upset, I think, as I've ever seen him headed toward the hall.
And Jeff, the thing about it, he's 37th quickest. He's not run a lot of laps. He's only run 13 laps in his practice, but we know he was very late getting out there because of all the changes being made to that car.
That's the case right there, Larry. They made a lot of changes trying to make him happy. The other two RCR cars seem to be pretty competitive right now, and they're satisfied with their setups, but they never got on board with this 33 car. So, you know, sometimes blessings are in disguise, so maybe this backup will give them a little bit of a reprieve and then get it dialed in for tomorrow.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick right now is 5th quickest. He's run a total of 30 laps, and his other teammate that you alluded to, Jeff Burton, is 16th. He's run 39 laps in that 31 car. It's Kevin Harvick, Danny Lawrence, Gil Martin, crew member from Jeff Burton's crew.
You know, I heard Danny Lawrence on one of the series shows this past week. Oh, look at this.
Shocking development.
Yes, it is. You know what I see there? 5, 10, 15, 20, $30,000. Somewhere in that range, having owned a few of those. Those things are expensive.
But the thing about it is we're just about to end this practice. Jeff Hammond was telling us during the break that the 2-car of Kurt Busch, what they did, he and Steve Addington, they put fresh tires on, and it looks like they're just making a long run here. And you accomplish so many things doing that. You start on the new tires, and you're able to see what it does over the course of a long run. But the biggest thing you're able to do right here is get a great fuel mileage check.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. You fill it up with fuel, put 4 tires on, and probably go out here and run about 25 laps right at the end of practice. Get a plug check for the old engine tuner, and that's the last thing you do. And then you put the checklist on the old girl. But what I was going to tell you was Danny Lawrence did a great job this week of explaining at RCR over there, the engine program, how they prepare engines and how many engines they have at a racetrack. They had 80 engines at Daytona back in February. And
80.
80 engines.
And I heard on Sirius, as we watched Paul Menard in the 98, that you told a story about a dog being sick. He kept eating mayonnaise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my dog, I tell you, I don't know what's wrong with him. He kept giving it. I finally had to take him to the vet. And I said, what do you think I ought to do? And they said, maybe I ought to take him to the Mayo Clinic.
Lord of mercy. The red and the black flag has waved on this practice session. It has now come to a close.
Oh. That's quality entertainment right there.
I just heard music in my ears. 30 seconds to we're off.
How was that for a softball?
You set me up, buddy. Thanks.
Hey, stay with us. The Camping World Truck Series race is next. Krista Voda will bring a whole new level of sophistication to this network after that fine attempt at humor.
It's been a mess everywhere I've been this week.